The Big Light presents
It didn't really hit me until the second wave of COVID came around, and I think that's when I just had enough, not even of work, not even of like my personal life. It was just I just had enough of life. I just couldn't wake up to bear any more of it.
My name is Halina Rafai, and this is the A Sonic Hug podcast. Over the coming episodes, you're going to hear the voices of people from different walks of life who deal, experience and battle mental health issues. In this episode, I speak to someone I've known for a long time and a person I've also worked with, Chloe Van Thompson. Chloe is a nurse, a musician, and also has a twin sister called Hannah. Both of them are in a band called the Van Tees. In this episode, Chloe talks to me about her time working over the pandemic as a nurse, which also involved working in ITU, which stands for Intensive Therapy Unit. There is discussion surrounding suicide and depression that people may find difficult to listen to. This is Chloe's story.
I have experienced, unfortunately, depression, anxiety and post-traumatic stress. It's manifested over, I'd say, probably the last year or so, but perhaps it's been a build-up of things over the last few years when I haven't realised it. It's actually kind of developed more of a stress. I think they mostly occurred probably when it was the second wave of COVID. During that time, I was redeployed to intensive care unit at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. I think for a period of time, it got really overwhelming from a physical and maybe an emotional point of view. I think I like to see myself as a strong person, and perhaps over the last few years, I'm a strong character, but I also like to kind of keep things in the back burner. I think maybe it was just a kind of flooding of emotions and physical exhaustion where it made me realise maybe I wasn't very well and haven't been well for a long time. The emotions I was feeling, I guess, were just emotional, physical fatigue, kind of feelings of there must be something better than this. Well, there's not. I don't want to be here anymore. There's a part of time where, you were isolated. I wasn't in a position where I could kind of talk about my feelings. I wasn't in a position where I could talk to friends, family. Presumably, I thought I was a strong character, so I wouldn't want to burden anyone with these emotions. But I guess the things I was feeling is obviously I didn't have music anymore. I didn't have my social life. Watching everyone kind of having garden gin parties all the time, where I was having to stay in a hotel for like a few weeks just because I was working in ITU. Couldn't see family. I think you get really lonely, and I think that's when you're on the go 24/7, like you don't have time to think of your feelings. So at night time you were coming home and thinking, is this going to be my life from now on? Like sometimes I was even kind of questioning why I'm a nurse, like what horrible punishment this must be working in the NHS. Like people, why did I not go to business school? Like why am I not a full-time musician? I even struggled to do my shopping outside. Like it's so terrible, but I couldn't. I think it got to the point where I was very resentful of all my friends and all my family. Having been working in the kind of recovery theatre, there wasn't any operations apart from the emergencies. They're coming in and so many people could cover that. The rest of us were redeployed in the first wave, especially with no training. I had basically flown out to Australia to meet my partner Jordan for the first wave. The UK went in lockdown. I'd just flown there. We got a week in Australia. We were stuck there. The only reason I got back was because my partner works for the fire service. I work for the NHS, so we were kind of priority to come over. We're very thankful that we managed to get home. But then 2 days later, I was basically being told I was redeployed to COVID ITU, where this was all very new. We had no training. We got told we were going to be paired up with an ITU nurse, but the volume of patients that got admitted, there were 7, I'm sure, COVID ITUs mixture with medical HDUs, all opened at once, so we couldn't pair up. I had to learn. My first day, I got told I was getting an intubated patient from high dependency, and there was no ventilator prepared. At that point, PPE was an issue. I had no idea like what to do. Like I felt that 12-hour shift was horrendous, and I think at that time in the first wave we were all full of adrenaline and enthusiasm. We wanted to, make the world amazing. We wanted to fix everybody. Like this was before we knew what actually we were dealing with. So like to go from such a high to think, oh my God, we're going to do amazing. We're going to save everyone. This is going to be good, even though it didn't end up like that at all. Like at that point, no one knew what kind of treatments, kind of solutions to do, and the medics especially as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, like the thing that I took from that was how strong we are as nurses, doctors, healthcare professionals together. Like I think that was my family at that time, seeing as I couldn't see my own family. So you're working with these people 12 hours each day, like, you become a really, really strong bond. So, I mean, the first wave, yeah, like it was exhausting and you learned a lot as you were going, but you learned from your mistakes. There was no training, there was nothing. You were straight out flat physically and mentally, like torn apart. And then as the weeks got on, it looked like it was getting better. But then, as I said, come the second wave, I think that kind of destroyed me, like completely, knowing the fact that we were going in. There was a sense of post-traumatic stress, like having families couldn't even come in to see their loved ones when the ventilator got switched off and you were the last person there to hold this person's hand. The family couldn't come in. I think that was a lot of responsibility, to think that, oh my God, I'm the last person, to be with this patient while the ventilator's on. But although you had medical staff and other professionals around you, like you felt you were the main named person looking after this person in ITU. And I just remember taking away, I felt like I had no character after that experience. I feel like I was numb. I felt like I didn't know who I was. I couldn't play music or pick up an instrument. I couldn't even go home and cook a nice meal because I thought, oh, what's the bloody point? I ended up getting COVID, which was horrendous, and getting long COVID from that. So I couldn't exercise. I couldn't look after myself. So when everything went kind of back to normal, I was back in my normal role as a nurse. Yeah, you were seeing your friends and family a lot more, but still a wee bit resentful as the fact that you'd went through that and everyone else was still drinking gin, going out to parks, having a good time. You weren't even having a sense of self-care at all. So yeah, as I said, when the second wave and got told I had to go back down, like I was just, I didn't want to be here anymore. There wasn't any talk of vaccine yet. I went into work and I had really bad thoughts the night before. My boyfriend as well, like he's like, you need to phone a doctor. So I was like, no, I'm okay. Actually, I've always wanted to be a nurse. Even when I was little, even my mum says when I was younger, I was just so good at nurturing and caring for people. Even like my friends, if someone from my family was ill, like I'd always be the first one. I think mum says I've definitely got the kind of more caring nature out of all of us, and I was lucky enough to get the grades for school. I think that was the kind of only other option that I could have done. I got in, went to college, then from college I went straight into uni, so it's been pretty much since I've been younger. Like I've always wanted to do it, and that's me being a nurse now registered for 5 years. And that was right through playing with the band. Like I've never taken a break. And there was a few nurses that had to go, we chose to go stay in a hotel, like away from family and friends, just because we were working in ITU, COVID ITU. There were several times where you thought, all our nurses together, this is great. Like we're going to tell our grandkids about this, like how we were a part of it. But then there was times you would sit alone in your hotel room. You had Zoom and things. I think this was like the 20th Zoom party we had or something. And I think I was missing my mum, my dad, my two sisters. I was missing my partner. So I think one day I just kind of thought, what's kind of more important? I know the risks going back home to be with my partner, but like I think more emotionally, that's the need that I need to meet at the minute. And I just was on the phone sobbing to my partner. I was like, I can't do this. We stayed in a hotel. It was so beautiful. There was so much nice fields around it. The novelty of going running every morning before work and after was great. But then maybe 2 weeks passed and I was like, you're physically exhausted, so you can't exercise, which is my kind of escape. I was just eating rubbish that I was kind of feeding my emotions, let's just say. And I just was looking myself in the mirror. I was like, you're gaining weight. Like, you're becoming paler and paler because all you're doing is wearing PPE the whole day and not you're sleeping in your hotel room. Like, I was just a shell of myself. So I made the decision just to go back home, stay with my partner. We were very safe. I'd shower at the hospital and then come home and wash all my clothes in little kind of dissolvable bags that the hospital give you. So we're being very safe, but I think it got to that point. But as I said previously, like, it didn't really hit me until the second wave of COVID came around, and I think that's when I just had enough. Not even of work, not even of like my personal life. It was just I just had enough of life. I just couldn't wake up to bear any more of it. It made me realise how much I love everyone around me, and how much I maybe took things for granted, having not seen everyone. But then, what is it they say? Like, is that absence makes the heart grow fonder almost. So it was basically a part and part. I think it was some stage it maybe did put the strain, and it definitely put the strain on relationship when I mentally wasn't well. I feel like I was putting a lot of strain on my partner, being the only person I live with, putting all that emotion on him, maybe him then becoming resentful. I'm sure it happens in quite a lot of relationships over the past wee while, being that only person, you can't really load off. And maybe that's why I didn't load off a lot of the time, because I didn't want to put that strain there. Yeah, I couldn't even tell my mum and dad about it at all. Like, I couldn't talk to them about it. I think the first person I kind of told was maybe Hannah, my sister, and Hannah's went through something very similar before as well. And if it wasn't for her kind of putting me in the right direction, I don't know what I'd do. But then my partner was like, right, that's it. You need to phone the doctor. It's scary. It's scary what you're saying. It's scary. I can't do this, Chloe. I can't do this. And I didn't want to be here anymore. And that's long story short. My head was full of all these different thoughts of even just kind of things of what went through the day. Then when you went to bed, it was as if, right, I've got to wake up tomorrow. And it was like very much tunnel visioned. I couldn't see what was to the left, to the right, even further ahead. It was only this kind of short wee bubble I could see. And I was like, I just couldn't even imagine going 2 days ahead. So I got into work that morning. I didn't start till 12. I was meeting my friend, and then I think I got a call back from the doctor maybe about 12:30 in the afternoon, and he's like, right, I've received your message from triage nurse. I want you to tell me what's going on, how you're feeling. Prior to that, when I was going through the first wave, I did seek some in-house hospital counselling, but they only kind of done just for nurses that were in ITU. So I had like 1 or 2 sessions. And then the doctor put me on propranolol because they thought it was kind of anxiety based. It didn't work at all. It was just, I think your anxiety is raised no matter what kind of situation you're going to be in through the pandemic. This is months later when I had my second consultation with the doctor, and I said, look, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be here. It's affecting my work. It's affecting my personal life. I just don't want to do it and not enjoy doing it anymore. And he was like, right, okay, we need to review this. I want you to take some time of work away. But I was like, no, I'm fine at work. Like, I got on with it. But even my work friend says, you're not yourself. You're not your bubbly self, Chloe. Like, so I went and spoke to my boss. She was great about it. I was on medication. I've only recently stopped taking medication and seemed to be doing okay. But at that point in time, yeah, it was very much, I was really, really depressed. And I never thought I'd say that, but it turns out I was depressed for a wee while without me actually knowing it, and just kind of plodding along. And it was that switch, that kind of waterfall moment where everything just kind of, there's no words to explain it really, but I can confidently talk about it now because retrospectively, like, I was not in a good place. I'm in a much better place now, but yeah, I think a few months off work and medication, kind of introducing self-care back to your life. And even though it wasn't through music, I'd in no way picked up my guitar at all that time. I was listening to music every day. I couldn't pick up a guitar. I couldn't sing. I couldn't even talk to my sister Hannah about songwriting. I was ashamed almost. I'd given up on it at that point in time. But even just meeting up with people outside of work, being open and honest at that point in time, like I wasn't shy, I wasn't ashamed of hiding the fact that I was depressed. Like I had a good support network. I feel like everyone took a turn to kind of take me out on walks. I got reintroduced back to the gym, and just appreciate those who support you and who are around you. Accepted it. I wasn't in denial about being depressed. I kind of sought the help. I had medication reviews. Yeah, it was good. My relationship with Jordan got a lot better because it was open and honest. He was great. His family were good. My family were amazing. Like, I know my family were going through some troubles, but they still accepted the time, like, to put me first. And that's one thing on. But I think they were really angry at the fact that I never told them I'd already been to the doctor, got the medication, got some counselling. And yeah, like I think it was just a mixture of everything the last wee while. Maybe prior to COVID as well. The first time I went to counselling, it was during the first wave when I started kind of getting like just this overwhelming feeling, which at the time they thought it was just anxiety through counselling, which was fine. They kind of found out that I would probably be a post-traumatic stress from kind of previous situations, and one of them being my sister Hannah. She got admitted to ITU when we were at a festival down in Dumfries. I've seen loads of people being in ITU, being a nurse. Like I did my management placement for 3 months in ITU a few years back. But I think it was that moment when I seen my twin sister in ITU, it just was horrendous. Like we thought we were going to lose her. But then going into the first wave, seeing people in ventilators, like kind of, especially women and things, like kind of looked like Hannah. I think that I struggled with a wee bit. But seeing that, I think you just felt really close to anyone you were looking after in ITU, like just because their family and stuff couldn't come in at that time, and like you were working with patients for like 3 days in a row for 12 hours each day, so you got to know everything about them. And I think like, and obviously when the outcome wasn't very good, you do take it hard, you do take it personally. So there was kind of things that got brought up that I didn't think that would affect me. Also losing my friend Gary from a young age as well. I think there was a lot of kind of repressed feelings there about it, and I think you just always think the worst when people go into hospitals, don't you? I think from my experience that's the case, and then being a nurse every day sometimes is not a good way to remind you of that. I suppose there was a lot of things that I didn't really know what was going on in my head until I kind of addressed them with counselling, which sometimes it can be a wee bit more emotional coming out than going in. But I think I remember like I couldn't stop crying like the whole time I was in counselling, and counselling wasn't like lying in a big cosy bed having this doctor swoon over you. You were very much sitting in a chair in an empty room in a hospital, just talking and just expected to, you know, let all. And this was in between shift, by the way. This wasn't like out at hours or after work or before work. This was during work. So you could only imagine like how emotional, and that basically thank God for PPE, because if it was normal circumstances, everyone would be like, oh no. But coming out of it, like retrospectively, yeah, it was probably a really good experience, and I think it kind of teaches you almost how to analyse things a wee bit better, whereas sometimes I just see black and white. I don't really see the colours. I just accept this is that and that's that. But yeah, it actually makes you question and maybe think why, maybe kind of look in a wee bit deeper about things. I definitely feel now I'm much more laid back, relaxed person. I don't kind of, although you do overthink. Let's be honest, I do overthink about things, but maybe now I'm definitely much more relaxed in the way my thought process is. I kind of got a lot out of counselling the first time round. Made me understand me a wee bit better. Made things make a wee bit more sense. And not think I'm just, wow, Chloe, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you doing this? Like, oh yeah, like someone tell you you've had a tough time. You're so vulnerable when you're laying all your feelings and all your thoughts out, and someone kind of just gathers them, puts them into a nice wee pile, and then just makes you feel the world a better. So I feel like what should have been put in place was probably more access to mental health services for healthcare professionals through the pandemic. I do stand by that. Although we got leaflets handed to us multiple times, half of us didn't do it, and to be honest, that was maybe part of our faults, who knows, but I think we were just expected to go do it, and that was no one's fault. No one knew what was happening. I feel like as a whole team, as a whole hospital, we worked really, really well, and we like to see good positive outcomes. I think maybe part of it was maybe my fault because I knew the cracks were coming and I didn't. I just plodded along as I normally did because I just thought that's what you'd done. I'd never experienced this before. Do you know what I thought? It's just a pandemic. It's just we're not seeing each other. Do you know, everyone's going through it. That's what it is. There's no music, live music. There's no pubs opening. There's no restaurants. You can't get away on holiday. This is what it is. That's probably what it is. Whereas I probably should have got help a lot more earlier, and I think that was part of the problem. Again, there was counselling only offered to those who were going to COVID ITU at that point in time. The service did get a lot better though. There was kind of like occupational health kind of thing you could go through to kind of seek therapy, but then again, I think the waiting list was quite long because a lot of people were going through something similar. I think a positive from that experience was having my work colleagues going through something similar, maybe not as deep as what I was going through, but you know, the only way I can describe it is it was like we were in, and this is nowhere very similar, but as if you were going to war, you know, you were getting shipped away and all you had was your soldiers beside you. And that's how I seen my nurses at that point in time. But part of it probably was my problem by not going to seek the help a lot earlier and maybe being more open with my family about it instead of plodding along every day. I definitely believe people were a lot worse off than me physically and maybe mentally, losing people in ITU, how what their families were going through, and work colleagues I worked with are losing family members. So maybe I was just what I'm going through is nothing like what everyone else is going through. So yeah, I did push through because maybe I was did feel a bit guilty, did feel a wee bit ashamed. You know, my problem's nearly not as bad as what everyone else is going through. So there is part of that where I kind of maybe didn't go seek help because of that. But then again, looking back, it was definitely the wrong thing to do. Everyone has their own problems individually, they're all equally as important to the person. And for those around you who love you so much, not knowing you are struggling, I think it's heartbreaking for them. If I could go back in time when I was at my lowest and not doing that great, well, the start of it, I would definitely tell myself it's going to get better. Don't be ashamed. You've done so well. Be proud of yourself. If I could tell that Chloe now, what amazing job she done. Our colleagues, our family and friends, everyone around her. We're all kind of just human. We're ready to break at any point. You know, we're not superhuman. And at that point, I couldn't see any way forward, and that is nonsense because now I've got a new job, you know, things are starting to look better with the vaccine really. At that point in time I didn't think that would happen, so I thought more people are going to get sick, more people are going to ill, how am I going to do that, how am I going to cope? Yeah, looking back, I want to tell her that she's brave, she's ambitious. This is only just a wee part in your time where it's not going so well, and everyone goes through this at some point. Some people you don't even realise are going through it as well. So yeah, I would tell her, just chin up. You're doing the right thing by seeking help. You're doing the right thing by going on medication, and just take a breath every day. And the thing that I love most about what I took from it, one of my work colleagues gave me some wise words, and every day I think about this. You don't have to start your day when you wake up. You can start your day at any point. You know, you can have a horrible morning and think the worst things in the world and think you don't want to get up, you don't want to get out of bed. You can't turn on your phone because you don't want to see how well everyone's doing, you know, or so it seems. You know, you can get up, you can have a coffee, you can open your window, see whatever weather's outside, you know, you can start your day at any point. I think I do that most days now because I think, oh, if I'm not productive by 11 o'clock in the morning, like, as the day ruined? No, like, yeah, just take it step by step, Chloe, and be brave, be good, and just appreciate those who support you and who are around you.
That was Chloe's story. I know Chloe relatively well. I know she won't mind me saying that I know her insecurities, but I also know what a wonderfully kind, talented and intelligent young woman she is. I think we have to start by acknowledging her and her colleagues' service to the public during one of the hardest times in our lifetime. I think most of us remember the fear of the unknown, the fear of the disease, and the monumental impact it had on everyone. To put yourself front and centre and help and protect the public is something incredible. To do that while the NHS is arguably underfunded, undersupported and overwhelmed is even more admirable. It's heartbreaking to hear this story, which is one of the thousands stretching across not only hospitals, but care and nursing homes, situations with unpaid carers, social care and more. I think what hits me is when Chloe talks about isolation. Loneliness is unrelenting. You can still experience loneliness and isolation even if you're surrounded by people. It can be the loneliness of people not understanding what you're going through. It can stem through resentment and jealousy, and it can be purely not having valuable emotional connection with another human. Chloe went through all of these feelings. When you break down what she went through, i.e. 12-hour shifts, dealing with severe physical exhaustion, lack of training, running on adrenaline, surrounded by people who were severely ill and even dying, and you apply that over a long period, it would no doubt affect anyone. Layer other aspects on top, so lack of self-care, the inability to tell those close to you how you're feeling, poor nutrition. Then I think when Chloe goes on later to say she thought it was perhaps her problem not to get help sooner, us sitting listening can recognise why she didn't. It's a really important point she raises about counselling and having someone outside yourself to identify and also validate your feelings. My therapist once said to me, imagine that you're at the base of a tree and I'm hovering above. I can see all around you, but you're only able to see from one aspect. So I think we ultimately need to give ourselves a break. And just on that point when Chloe says she didn't want to burden her family and those close to her, but because of the gravity of what she was dealing with, she was comparing her situation to others and minimising her own feelings. Both of these things are things that we regularly do as humans, and it has to be remembered that all feelings are valid. We have our own reference points, so it's impossible for these comparisons to be true at times. Music and creativity is a big part of Chloe's life. It's hard for me to imagine her struggling, as I know her through her music creation and performance. On stage, she is a force, and to think of her feeling so alone over this period is tough, so I can't imagine what it must be like for those closest to her. I maybe wish she'd had that balance she craved to inject some form of respite into her life, but it wasn't as easy as that. I think it's also important to note the past trauma that Chloe's experienced with her sister Hannah being drastically unwell in a unit similar to her work, and also the death of her friend Gary. If experiences like these haven't been processed, then I guess they start to build layers within you, and anything else that comes along creates a trigger. So again, Chloe was not to blame for not getting help. Going over all of this and what Chloe's been through as a professional but also personally means that her emotions must have been polarised so much that no wonder she felt she was in a tunnel at times, and as she says, she was numb. The feelings of hopelessness and suicidal ideation are unsurprising. I think what she says about acceptance, however, is vital. Once we accept what is happening to us and what we're going through, it can reduce the impact of it. I suppose we need to go outside of our own minds and bodies and think to talk to ourselves the way we would to others in these situations. One of the first things we would say is, please talk to someone. It may be easy said that people should get counselling as a given in these situations, but we all know about the aforementioned strains on resources, but this is another account of someone who suffered as a result of not getting the right support. But ironically, this is someone who's part of the healthcare system, so should we not be ensuring that they have provisions in place as standard for their well-being? Finally, I just want to end by saying thank you to Chloe. Thank you so much for the work you do, but thank you for sharing your story. You're a special human being, and your friend is quite correct in saying that it's never too late to start your day, as I am no doubt sure you have helped start countless others for those struggling. But more importantly, I hope you have many, many bright ones to come. If you have experienced or are experiencing anything described in this episode, you will find support information in the text to accompany this podcast. A Sonic Hug is recorded, edited and produced by me, Halina Rafai. We are also part of Scotland's podcasting network, The Big Light. Until next time, deep breaths.
From the Big Light Studio.